I suppose that there's one sense in which Henry Kissinger is among the easiest people in the world to introduce. How often and how erroneously is it said that a speaker needs no introduction? But in Henry's case, it is the literal truth. Is there anyone whose celebrity has matured more effulgently? Around the world, Henry Kissinger is more than a household name. He is a palpable part of the 20th and 21st century history, our lives. National security advisors and secretaries of state come and go. Henry Kissinger came and never left. If the state of the world today furnishes abundant reasons for gloom, and it does, I think that Henry's persistence on the world stage provides a glimmer of hope. The fact that generations of presidents, prime ministers, and other heads of states, not to mention titans of industry, the world over have sought his counsel is evidence that the instinct for self-preservation has not been entirely bred out of the human species. But if Henry's celebrity is a strikingly hardy perennial, the deeper source of his persistence on the world stage is perhaps not so promiscuously appreciated. That he is a masterly diplomatic historian as well as a statesman of Churchillian stature is acknowledged by everyone not cretinized by the rancid pieties of left liberal ideology. But the usual labels of realpolitik and kindred epithets do more to conceal than reveal the true source of Henry's genius and importance. At bottom, I believe, it is consonant with that great Burkean insight regarding the fragile nature of civilization. Henry's work everywhere bears witness to the sober, if often unacknowledged, fact that civilization is a precious inheritance, immeasurably more difficult to achieve than to destroy, and once destroyed, almost irretrievable. Drawing on a deep fund of historical learning and an innate insight into the vagaries of the human heart, Henry has understood that civilization's fragile emoluments are all that stand between our dreams and chaos, what Burke famously and frighteningly called our naked, shivering nature. For more than 5 decades, Henry has labored to continue Burke's legacy as a standard bearer of civilization in a world with forces that would destroy it. Russell Kirk once said that he was conservative because he was liberal. That seeming paradox, and it's only a seeming paradox, I think, conceals a deep Burkean truth. That freedom requires the labor of conservation. Freedom, in a sense, is not free. It thrives only to the extent that we are able to nurture the institutions, the customs, and the traditions that made it possible in the first place. Conservative, therefore, means wanting to conserve what is worth preserving from the demotic vagaries of ideology, evil, and stupidity. Now, in some lucky eras, that task is so easy that we can almost forget how necessary it is. That, alas, is not our situation. In these most interesting of times, freedom has been under constant siege. We are fortunate indeed that Henry Kissinger has been an indefatigable partisan of civilization. It is a battle we at the New Criterion have endeavored to fight in the realm of culture. My colleagues at the magazine and I are proud to inaugurate the Edmund Burke Award for service to culture and society tonight, and are delighted and honored to welcome Henry Kissinger to address us on the limits of universalism, conservatism, and neoconservatism in American foreign policy. Henry.
Roger, ladies and gentlemen, I hear it often said that it is that it's difficult to introduce me, but no one enjoys an introduction more than I do. And this was a particularly thoughtful one. I was talking to Tim Pearson about the various foundations that are supporting the new Criterion, and he mentioned the one founded by Bill Simon. Bill Simon was a colleague of mine who once asserted that my knowledge of economics was a good argument against universal suffrage. He then proved his knowledge of politics by, at the height of the oil crisis, calling the Shah of Iran a nut. When I called him up, he being Secretary of Treasury and I Secretary of State, and hinted that this was an inappropriate comment. He said, "You political people always get so excited." He said, "I'll have it settled by this evening." By that evening, he issued a statement that when he called the Shah of Iran a nut, he was quoted out of context. Raja, I was very much moved by your generous words. And I'm going to plagiarize part of what you said, because I have done something that I almost never do. I actually wrote out my speech, since it's a topic that has moved me and concerned me greatly. I can only reassure you that there is a longer version of this speech, which I'm not inflicting on you. My friendship with Raja spans the decade since we met at Bill Buckley's house. And as many of you know, Bill infused the lives of all he touched. He inspired a generation to define conservatism for the contemporary era. It challenged liberalism, not in defense of the status quo, but on behalf of an enduring concept of change. It disputed not the need for progress, but the proposition that progress could be invented and implemented as a bureaucratic exercise. I'm especially honored to receive a prize commemorating Edmund Burke, whom Bill admired and whose vision of conservatism seems to me an apt guide to contemporary problems. He lived in a time somewhat comparable to ours. The French Revolution was in the process of destroying the established civil order and the monarchical principle. The American Revolution upended the existing international order. Burke faced the conservative paradox squarely. Values are universal, but in the political and even more in the international world, they have to be implemented as part of a process. That is to say, gradually. If they're implemented without respect for history or circumstance, they invalidate traditional restraints. Burke sympathized with the American Revolution because he considered it a natural evolution of English liberties.